Welcome back to the Torque Test channel. We're not exactly happy with square drive impact driver adapters. We've broken a lot of them around here and we don't even run impact drivers all that much. These should really be 5/16 or 8mm hex these days. Hopefully someday they make that change. Now we're the furthest thing away from being infallible, folks. But that said, the godfather of tool testing, big shout out to Todd here, only time visiting the subject involved twisting these by hand until failure, which isn't how ours are breaking currently, and using a 1/2-inch air impact wrench with 1/4-inch hex drive adapter on it, both tests going in one direction. Results from this test putting Bosch in second place in both test types, which would put it first overall, we believe. So we bought those simply for us to use, and they, to this day, are the quickest to break impact adapters we've ever used, about 1 full second of impacting between all the ones we bought. Again, I'm positive a good amount of our testing would do well to have others verify results too. We always recommend looking at multiple sources, and Tim over at Shop Tool Reviews has a great video on 3/8 as well. Several brands made it to the winner's circle, however, and we aim to break all of these because today's impact drivers, they're violent tools. We're upwards of 4,000 to 4,500 impacts per minute. As we've shown with torque limiting extensions, cordless impacts behave just different. They wind things up and twist attachments in ways air impacts don't. So today we're going to do a few things that might help you find an impact adapter that lasts longer in your impact driver. But mainly, save us some money buying these things all the time, so you're welcome to come along for the ride if you like, but that's where our head's at. So that's going to include skipping over ones we've already personally broken much too easily in measuring tests, like this Bosch, a couple Harbor Freights, the super stubby Milwaukee, or are just discontinued like this Makita Gold. Buying multiple of each to test each at least twice to rule out any flukes, which we've personally seen before, maybe you too. Your original lasts forever, then you buy a new one and snap. We're also going to be testing multiple countries of origin on the same brand and model number. We're going to test across 6 to 8 impact drivers in increasing brutality based on their historical adapter appetite around here, doing multiple tests per impact driver. And finally, test in both directions. These bits slowly twist up as you abuse them, and oftentimes they don't enjoy then being used in the other direction. So each driver will use them in reverse at each stage. And they'll be scored here based on total stages and how many stages they made it before that hex shank was too twisted to continue working in larger traditional drill chucks. 10 examples today, but if you guys are unsatisfied, happy to put the winner here versus your suggestions using the same exact process to make this an ongoing, as definitive as it can be, resource. So that's enough blabbering about our reasoning here. Let's bang through some of these. In order of price, we have the Amazon brand Husky. These work out to be $3 per 3-piece set, which is how we'll be comparing these. We start with the latest M12 impact driver and go up in modes in 3 steps for each tool, then reverse the bolt off. 5 amp hour equivalent batteries for everything. Then do the same with the Metabo 36-volt triple hammer bolt. This one's hammer mechanism hits crazy fast, and along with that brings some weird IPM fluctuating design that causes fasteners to twist up sometimes. So we wanted to include it in the mix, as while it's not a torque monster, does bring a unique form of torture. Next is the Hercules brushless. This is a good option because it's both violent and powerful, which has led to us chucking some adapters in the trash. Then the Milwaukee 2953, their latest Gen 4, all 3 modes as well, one of the top 2 to 3 breakers of adapters around here, and earns that position by breaking the Amazon option 15 stages in here, one short of clearing the Milwaukee. So that's 3 tools that it cleared fully, 15 stages, fairly twisted up after the Hercules, so 12 cleared that were still drill chuck usable. The most it saw was 228 foot-pounds during testing. But they include a short adapter in each set, which is why we bought it. A curiosity of ours, does impact adapter length influence durability in a big way amongst the same set, presumably same factory? And the answer to that is, at least for this Amazon brand, the short version of the same tool made it to the same M18 impact driver and 14 stages. Breaking here at 169 foot-pounds in mode 3 tightening, didn't get to loosening like the last one did. But it did make it up to 227 foot-pounds on the Hercules, which supports our idea that it's not about testing these things just to a peak torque figure. Some tools will just eat up an adapter that another doesn't. Decent stuff though, similar despite the length favoring longer for, I assume, more flex. With the testing process explained, we can move things right along to Nico, $6.50 a set, or $13 for this double set here. Even they're expecting you to break some of these pieces. Modern impact drivers are just insane. The Nico blazes through testing mostly unscathed until Big Red comes to town again. Don't worry, there are big differences between some of these coming up, but Not so much here. It breaks 15 stages in when trying to remove what the Gen 4 tightened. That reverse action is a tough one for some of these once things are maxed out. The second Nico adapter did similarly for us, which all said you probably want to see that consistency. 14 stages, didn't complete the last Milwaukee tightening stage. 252 foot-pounds peak here from these, which is cool to see. More of an efficiency of impact transfer comparison here than durability in our experience, as none of these are going to break at specifically their peak today. Otherwise, these two, close to the same. Okay, and up next we have the best-selling on Amazon, Lexivon. This $8 3-piece set is not only the best-selling in adapters, it's the best-seller in all of sockets at the moment. They sell an estimated 10,700 of these a month. Like most of these, it's made from CRV too, so let's see how it does. It breezes past the initial impacts of the M12 and Metabo HBT, and even passes up the Hercules without developing a twist from it. The Milwaukee does cause it to twist up a bit, but it still survives it in both directions, and sees the Flex's top mode of forward and reversing. So from here we go on to longer dyno runs. After clearing this Flex, it broke immediately into trying that, clearing 20 stages in total. The next example we bought wasn't as fortunate. Sorry about the focus here, camera was stuck in autofocus for a portion of our testing. It made it to 18 stages, not to Flex's top mode. 4 to 5 tools cleared depending on the example, 18 to 20 stages, 16 of which could still be used in a drill, 265 foot-pounds peak. Best so far in justifying some of those sales. And here we have the Aries, another short length adapter, which we like to see in the mix, $9.80, about 10 bucks. The Aries here got up to mode 2 on the Flex, then mode 3 just about insta-killed it. Not bad though, our second example actually got further. We like to trigger this Metabo HBT triple hammer IPM effect weirdness several times per run just to give it a hard time, but yeah, this one got through that and the M18 and Flex up to the longer stages and broke here like the Lexivon did. Between these two, in fact, the only difference was a lower peak seen here despite the same tools and test lengths. Would have assumed a shorter bit would produce higher numbers. That's interesting. All right, now we have the $11 set from Husky at Home Depot. We have some experience with using Husky, and Shop Tool Reviews rates their 3/8 highly as well, so we've used it, mainly for its warranty, but you have to warranty the full 3-piece pack each time, so you'll need to keep track of those things, which we don't always successfully do. And we find it's worth the hype for the most part. In 3/8 or ½ inch, they're basically made the same after all. The Husky is going to do better here than anything so far, and essentially every metric as well. Not only does it make it through Flex, it does so without a twist. And then it makes it through the longer 10-second test of the Flex, then breaks trying to reverse that off. Still, that's good stuff. Admittedly, the next example didn't make it quite as far. The Flex got it up mega tight to 277, and reversing that, it broke, which would be 19 test stages cleared here, which looks like this. 5 to 6 tools, 19 to 21 stages, 20 cleared, and we're still usable in drill, 277 foot-pounds peak. Nice. Okay, and moving up in price to about $12, these fluctuate between 10, 15, 13 bucks really. It's the Makita XPS impact adapter. These and the 3-piece set as well come chrome plated, though these are their XPS impact rated examples, and from what we can tell, they're not made out of the right stuff. They're a shorter class of impact adapter, sure, but otherwise dimensionally no different than most of these, and this broke off in the second mode of the Metabo triple hammer bolt. A clean shear. Some tools just don't like that triple hammer. Except that the next example did pass through the HBT, so it's not that, but did die from the Hercules. Didn't make it to the reversing yet, 3/4 of the way through the Hercules and broke off differently, so it's not even consistently breaking the same way. Altogether, a poor showing really, lowest figures on each one of these stats on the board. Milwaukee Shockwave up next with the same length. Hopefully it can turn things around for the big guy names. A 3-piece set of these is anywhere from $11 to $13.50. We mainly go through the ½ inch around here though. The Milwaukee Shockwave short length goes from the M12 through its 4 stages including reverse, Metabo HBT, yep, no problem, Hercules, Milwaukee Gen 4, Flex in all of its modes as well including reverse, Flex in its longer 10-second test, and reverse, not twisted up yet either. Hercules 10 seconds again in reverse, Milwaukee 10 seconds again in reverse. Yeah, we did this all again too, and with a couple more brands on both bits. Over a half hour worth of just footage, battery and cooldown break gaps in between, making this operation take a couple hours. In fact, this is what caused our third Milwaukee Gen 4 impact driver to bite the dust despite the cooldown breaks. The literal Milwaukee tool breaking here before the bit does. See that saga at the top of your screen if you're interested in how those usually meet their end. So we bought another 2953 and continued testing, and still we haven't managed to break one. Here's what we're going to do. List 8 different tools here, 30 plus stages cleared for both of these. Still not even twisted up. And if anything else rivals these numbers, we'll continue testing to crown a winner. Do I think it's indestructible? No. Just haven't gotten them to break on camera in this standardized testing yet. Can't say I saw this being a possibility. We've used their Shockwave adapter before. They come in bit sets that we have that I'm not in love with. They sort of fall out sometimes, and we broke ours within shooting one impact driver episode. So I was definitely surprised to see this sort of result. Okay, and on now to DeWalt, also about $13, a 3-piece set. And this is the adapter we use and buy most often around here. We'll buy around 6 to 8 at a time, and we've done that quite a few times now. Not to say these are weak. They've just held up the best from what we've used so far, and so we keep buying them. Which is why we're here. I mean, you can come along as well, I guess. Let's see if we've been wasting money. So one thing that's been bothering me is country of origin on these DeWalt adapters on the same exact part number. It's been changing. I believe the later ones being Taiwan, earlier ones being China. They still get mixed up sometimes, but later purchases seem to be mostly Taiwan, so we're going to see here if their later stuff is better or worse. So that means 2 samples each. We did 4 testing runs here, and let me tell you, we usually don't see the same factory and country source tools from the same purchase batch perform this similarly. The China DeWalt adapter made it through Flex, which is good to see, and through the longer 10-second test, and then broke when trying to remove that. The Taiwan example one made it exactly that far, and the other one we tested was able to make it a little bit further and remove the 10-second flex run. Then when moving on to the Milwaukee's longer 10-second run, broke instantly there, exactly 1 stage further. This is what that looks like all around, an impressive result. 21 to 22 stages cleared, and they never looked twisted up, but did break, 279 foot-pounds peak. These even measured the same hardness for us, and China, the last few years, has had tariffs imposed on importing goods from there. So do I think this is actually the same bit made in the same factory but brought through Taiwan to save like 20% in tariffs? Well, no, because I don't want to be sued. Not sure why you even brought this up. We could have certainly done worse, it seems, by purchasing most of these other brands up here. And this fair amount of DeWalt testing we did was also the point where we smoked our Hercules impact driver, like literal smoke. 4 DeWalt examples in a row was enough for this one to get too hot, and even when letting it cool down for a long time, it now makes 20% less torque or so, and sometimes stops and starts in the middle of a test run. The DeWalt testing also has our M18 leaving the lights now on forever, draining a battery down to dead if a battery's left on it, so a couple casualties on this one. Alright, last brand on the day, Irwin Tools. We bought a couple of these, but were delivered a couple of different, more standard looking adapters. These work out to $16 a set, and the priciest on the day. Let's see how they do. The Irwin does well. It makes it through all of our standard testing, each tool's 5-second runs with 1 in reversing, and clears the flex. The 10-second testing, it makes it almost all the way there, 8 seconds through the first test, up to 257 foot-pounds on that one. That's 20 stages. The second example is tested through the same process and tools and makes it to the same 10-second test, and the same 8 seconds in, only a few foot-pounds less on the 21st stage when it breaks. The most consistent adapters on our list here, only the first and last ones here performing the same for each one we purchased. Well, I guess the Milwaukee qualifies for that too here since none of them broke, and that's why it's obviously getting our pick. If you want a short adapter, Milwaukee Shockwave. This only applies to their short and non-stubby ones in our experience. Follow the link below to double check the model numbers because they have like 3 to 4 types now, and the DeWalt for long adapters if you need them. Normally this is where we'd pick a low cost option that we think is pretty good for the money, but we're talking like, what, $3, $4 here? If one of these breaks, you're doubling these prices anyways to replace it. So just buy one of these 2, or suggest ones in the comments we obviously missed out on, and we can continue this same standardized testing to determine the best and what these Milwaukee adapters could be bested by. Now, we don't think this is a fluke, but we also don't think these are impervious to breaking. Really nice to see the red team take the W here after us pointing fingers at their Gen 4 impact driver this past month. We'll be buying more of these to re-standardize our impact driver testing process and hopefully spend less on adapters in the future.
Okay, an update for you guys. We actually delayed this video for about a month because we wanted to test a lot more impact drivers and see how it fared. We have been able to break Milwaukee since, just not in that series of testing, by testing another dozen or so impact drivers over the last month. So overall, we do feel it's maybe on par with the DeWalt, which we break seemingly about as often. And this is using some serious impact drivers, the new 860. We warrantied the Hercules brushless here, got a replacement of that. But we're fairly confident the DeWalt here and the Milwaukee are the top two impact bit adapters that we've tested so far. So any that we test in the future will have quite a task ahead of them.
Appreciate you joining us how to save the channel money on buying so many of these. Maybe this can save you some money too, or maybe brands will either stop making such powerful impact drivers or move these to 5/16 hex. Here's hoping. Thanks for watching.